All right, for more, let's bring in Unleash Prosperity co-founder Steve Moore. Hey, Steve, nice to see you, sir. You know, there's nobody out there who I've read more on this issue from than you. This is a specialty of yours, red states, blue states. Ashley there just talking about the cost of living, and that's part of the story. The other part of the story is how much money you make, right? So what's the overall affordability picture? Talk about what you found as the emerging trend between red and blue states when it comes to
great
affordability.
to be with you guys. And let me just start by saying I did watch Abigail Spanberger speech last night. By the way, I live in the Washington, D.C. area, right outside of Virginia. She's proposed about 22 new taxes in her first month as governor. Gee, that's going to really make things more affordable. Just about everything that moves, she wants to tax, and then she talks about affordability. The other thing I found kind of humorous, Brian, was she said, "Oh, childcare, costs are up," and she blames it on tariffs. Now, Brian, how would tariffs raise the cost of childcare?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have an answer for you, Steve. Maybe she can answer that question for you. But talk a little bit about the red state, blue state issue, because I do think it's important to understand that.
I know. I just think it's very humorous that the Democrats are talking about affordability when, as you guys just reported, and every study shows this, 9 of the 10 states with the highest cost of living are states that are run by Democrats, including my home state of Illinois, New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, New Jersey. Why is that? It's because they have high taxes, high regulations on their businesses, and those costs get passed on to the consumers. They're hooked on green energy, which is much more expensive than nuclear power and cheap natural gas. All of these Democratic policies make things more expensive. And incidentally, the big red states like Texas and Florida, as you just showed on your screen, happen to be the states that with the lowest cost of living. And you know what's similar about those states? They don't have an income tax.
Speaking of income taxes, Steve, President Trump mentioned them yesterday during his State of the Union in the context of tariffs. You know, he kind of repeated his hope that maybe one day tariffs would replace income taxes for Americans. There are some real questions about whether or not that would ever be viable because income taxes generate trillions of dollars, you know, and so far the tariffs, they're in the billions of dollars. But my question to you is this, you know, even with the recent kind of obstacles with the tariff policies, is there a world in which maybe tariffs could generate a rebate to Americans or offset some of the taxes? Do you see where he could possibly be going with this?
Well, first of all, I mean, the reason I have a big smile on my face is because I've devoted much of my career over the last 40 years trying to abolish the income tax. I believe the amendment, I believe it was the 13th Amendment or 16th Amendment that created the income tax. And let's not forget, for the first 125 years of our nation, it was unconstitutional to have an income tax. And the American economy boomed to the fastest growing and most prosperous economy in the world. And so this could be done through a consumption-based tax and tariffs. We could replace the corporate income tax, the capital gains tax, the personal income tax, the estate tax. All of those taxes would be zero. Now, just think about this for a minute. Can you imagine if the United States had no corporate income tax, no personal income tax, no capital gains tax, no dividend tax? There is no country in the world that could possibly compete with us. We would just suck up every job in the world. So I love Trump's vision and his aspiration to make America one giant no tax zone, just like Florida and Texas are states that are no tax zones.
Wouldn't even be a fair fight, Steve. Hey, I got another one for you. Retirement plans. The president has a new plan with a federal match, kind of modeled on what they do for federal workers. What do you think about that?
I like that idea a lot. And I think the more that we can make the American workers and capitalists, you know, that they actually own American companies through their savings would be fantastic. Now, the government's going to put a little bit of money in this, but then that'll kind of acculturate Americans to having private accounts and owning things. And, you know, the way you get ahead in America is not just by earning money. Of course, that you have to have a job to earn money, but then saving and building wealth, that's the key. You know, and by the way, starting to save just 10 or 15% of your paycheck, Brian, once you start working at, say, 21, 22 years old, and you're going to be a millionaire when you retire.
Yep.
You know, President Trump also announced a huge policy with getting, big tech to pay their own way with electricity rate increases that they need to build out all the AI and data centers and such that they're pursuing. That could be a potential huge cost savings to Americans. So shows Trump is once again focused on affordability. But Steve, my question to you is, when you look at across the country where electricity rates are going up the most, you know it, it's the blue states. Do you think that folks in those blue states, the Democrats, will give Trump the credit he would deserve if he brought down their electricity rates, getting big tech to pay their own way on that?
Yeah. Look, utility costs are really tied to the cost of energy. And what all the blue states did very stupidly is they tied themselves to very expensive, quote, green energy. And guess what? Those costs twice as much per kilowatt hour. So your utility is going to go up. And I'll just say one thing on the way out to you guys. Right now I'm sitting in beautiful Florida, in Naples, Florida. And if we could buy a house here, I live in Maryland. The money I would save just moving out of Maryland to Florida just on my taxes would pay for my mortgage. That's how much of a difference it makes from living. And I got to get out of Maryland.
Steve Moore, right now on Zillow, scrolling through the listings, trying to find something to buy. That was a great roundup of all the issues, Steve. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Good to see you. Happy house hunting.